slides to bore you with. There are a few speaking sessions which I always dread. One which is right before a tea break. The second which is right before or after a lunch break. And the third is the one which is before the evening cocktail. That's the worst speaking session that you can have. But fortunately, I think I've managed to get a slot somewhere there in the middle. So hopefully I have your attention. Okay, so what we will do is, I'll just initiate some bit of thought around these topics in the course of a couple of slides that I'm going to run you through. We look at typical design features of the green buildings for the uninitiated amongst us, benefits of green building, myths surrounding the whole green building domain, investment drivers and inhibitors, a life cycle cost analysis, and actually where we go from here. You know, a couple of weeks ago, I was sitting in one of our customer meetings, and the customer has a real estate portfolio of about 1.3 million square feet, looking at an expansion of more than 20 to 30% over the next 2 years. And most of the buildings are around 7 to 8 years old. And we were actually discussing some oddball shaped buildings in that portfolio. When I say some, a majority of the buildings are oddball shaped. And they are also bear ample testimony to our obsession with glass facade buildings. Despite being a couple of degrees away from the equator, we are so obsessed with glass facade buildings. So we were sitting on buildings which really looked nice 7 years ago, but were now draining the coffers 7 years hence. And they were almost 35 to 45% more expensive to operate than contemporary buildings. So a lot of wisdom has gone into this statement. We shape our buildings, and afterwards our buildings shape our lives. So what do we look for in a typical green building? You look at restriction of sunlight. That starts with low solar heat gain, more shadow area. You look at improved insulation. Again, low solar heat gain, so less expense on the air conditioning. Typically, a building, when she operates, consumes almost 60% of our energy on air conditioning in India. We're looking at probably a rooftop solar PV option, rooftop plantation, again to reduce the solar heat gain. You're looking at automated demand-based ventilation control, which responds to temperature within the building, therefore optimizes the energy spent on the chiller plant. Lighting control, so during the daylight hours, a building which harnesses daylight is essentially green in that respect. We look at motion sensors in low occupancy areas, look at high efficiency light fixtures. Very, very basic wisdom. And if you look at the whole concept, which is there on the slide here, you don't need an Einstein to understand this. It's very, very basic. I would say it's common sense. So a green building essentially is nothing but a conglomeration of common sense best practice. So what are the direct benefits of going green? You're looking at a reduction in water consumption, energy consumption which goes down by almost 20% over a building which is not green or not designed to be green, reduced waste generation. You're looking at recycling of food waste, recycling of wastewater, zero waste discharge buildings, enhanced occupant satisfaction. So we have statistics which say that in a green building, because of the investment that you make in creating a more salubrious working environment, you're able to increase the productivity by up to 16 to 20%. Maintenance savings of about 10 to 15%. And an important point which Karna also touched upon is transportation. So you locate green buildings closer to public transportation hubs. Of course, cities which operate efficient public transportation are rare to find in India, but you locate those buildings close to them and therefore you cut down on transportation spend. What are the indirect benefits? I think when we look at where the energy situation today in the country is, we almost 12 to 14% energy deficit. We have a cumulative annual growth rate in energy consumption of almost 7 to 8%, and most of that will be coal. So when you're looking at the energy market per se, it's only going to become more and more dearer. So when you are investing in a green building today, you're also preparing for higher expense on energy in the future. Better preparedness for government regulations. Today, I think an example which Karan also gave was on energy performance reporting of buildings. So it's become a regulatory or legislative measure to report energy performance of a building. We are not there today as yet, but we will get there. Things are happening. After the Energy Conservation Building Code has come out, various states are working on those codes to make them necessary and fundamentally essential for new government buildings, for example. So once you have such legislations enforced, energy as a result of penalty will become even more dearer. So a green building investment prepares you better for that future. Future carbon tax. I think we've seen this happening in the mature markets. It's something that we can't actually choose to ignore now. It's going to happen pretty soon. And of course, when you actually invest in a green building, when a developer invests in a green building, he gets higher lease value. So from a business perspective, it becomes a good option to invest in a green building. Now there are a number of rating systems that are there in India today, and we have followed the lead which has been taken in the US. With the US Green Building Council, we have our own homegrown Indian Green Building Council. We have a number of rating systems which I would say creditably have been brought out by the Indian Green Building Council. We have the TERI GRIHA system, and what's interesting also is a number of city municipal corporations are now working on rating systems for urban housing, for example. But there's a tantalizing statement up there on the slide is that all of these are currently voluntary. So there is nothing which mandates that you must build green. But that's something which I think we are set to change in the near future. While I'm not such a fan of a regulatory enforcement of green performance, but what does work is combination of legislation plus incentivization. And that's possibly where the government can help. So when you look at the sector-wise electricity consumption of India, you're looking at residential and commercial account for almost 29% of the energy use, and this is residential and commercial buildings. If you look at the industrial sector, it accounts for almost 46%, and 15 to 20% in that is again not manufacturing process related, but the buildings in which the manufacturing process is housed. So effectively, buildings account for almost 40% of India's energy consumption. Makes sense for us to go green. And when you look at energy saving potential, this is of course sector wise, we are sitting at a combined potential of almost 14 million tons of greenhouse gas emission reduction. And 40% of that is going to come out of operating buildings more efficiently. So the impact to the environment, the potential is huge. So what are the myths? I think we've been through this every session that I've attended on green buildings. There is a very healthy debate which is sparked on